Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to the top three. I'm Marsha O'Connor, your host today. And also I'm CEO and founder of the O'Connor Group, where we do outsourced HR and recruiting. I'm also very keen about talking to entrepreneurs out there about their journey and what's that one thing that they would share to other people starting that journey and how they would do things differently. So with that, a good friend of mine who's also one of my EO compadres out there, Shana Stegowal, is here with us and modern driven media. And Shana, I'm so excited to have you on here. So welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to do this with you.
Oh my God, I am pumped. And it's an interesting story because the fact that I knew you before you took the plunge, and then you were part of the plunge, and then it's a journey in itself. So, tell us more about what modern driven media does.
Sure. So we started off specifically as a digital marketing agency. So focused a lot on things like social media, paid media, website builds, SEO, email marketing, all of the fun creative stuff. But what we've shifted into over the past couple of years is really a growth digital solutions agency. So not only do we have the creative side of our team, but we also help with the technology portion of the team, specifically focusing around CRM and data.
Awesome. And then you started it. Why did you start your own company?
So I kind of tumbled into it. So I was actually working within the casino industry. I had a very interesting career path before launching Modern. Was in radio for a while, then shifted over to casino, where I was doing digital marketing. But I had the opportunity. There were some close family friends of ours that were looking to add social media for their business. And really, it started off as a conversation of, hey, we just don't want the sheet pulled over our eyes. What should we look for if we're hiring someone who says they can do social media for our business? And I basically turned that into, you know what? Why don't I create a proposal? Why don't we do this for your business? But then why don't we expand and do this for more businesses outside of this? So it was one of those things where it just was the right place, right time, right connection, and had a little bit of faith in myself. I was like, that's probably one of the boldest things I've ever done, just presenting, a whole entire pitch to someone to not only, you know, look at what I could do for their business, but really see the opportunity to do this for just, more businesses outside of what we were even initially talking about.
But you did it. I think that's the big key of it here. It's like you did it. Not everybody could
Yes,
say that they've done it. Like they literally go to their deathbed saying coulda, shoulda, woulda. And
sure.
that's why I'm such a huge believer in the book The Alchemist, which literally I read and came back and I quit. So and it's the history from there. But you did this, you got out there, you got into a time too where, what you do, digital media, is so important nowadays. So you
hmm
definitely started at the right time. Do you think luck took a lot of, was luck a part of it?
Wow, what's the one quote where luck's nothing but a little bit of preparation when the opportunity arises? I do feel like, there were a lot of things that I've done, positions I put myself in front
Mhm.
of where it just so happened that one thing started to click. And, in this industry, there's always things that are changing. So the ability to be adaptable and always stay innovative is just so important. And that's what we really started from the beginning. We were in an industry that it was required to be innovative and always look at what's going to happen next. So what it started off was, social media and influencer marketing when we first opened our doors. Now is AI and, all different technology platforms that are really changing the landscape of what we do day in and day out. So you always have to stay a student, but I think that's also what makes not only our industry exciting, but being an entrepreneur exciting. You're always a student, you're always learning something new. So it's just important to maintain that mindset all the way throughout.
Oh, absolutely. I think if you're not a learner, then you're definitely in the wrong world if you're not an
hmm
entrepreneur because that's half the battle. And if you
Sure.
stay stagnant, you're gonna, you'll frizzle and die basically. So
Yep.
for sure. It's interesting. So how many employees are you up to now?
So we have 10 full-time employees, and then we work with a variety of part-time contractors on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's great. Now, listen, for those listeners out there, it is not easy to get 10 employees. And when you're starting and you're growing and basically you're scaling up, you have to keep in mind like each salary is something that you have to add on to your payroll.
Mhm.
And then you have more additional costs when it comes to benefits and all. You know, it's interesting. Did you ever see yourself now 5 years later, Shana, having 10 employees?
No, you know what? It was always interesting because that start of the year, Philadelphia is an interesting market. You don't have those large agencies like you do, let's say, in New York City. And what's becoming more common are these like small niche agencies that
Yeah.
specialize in a very specific thing, aren't necessarily working, with thousands of clients, but are
Hmm.
very niche in what it is that they're working with. So, you know, it is crazy that we have 10 full-time employees now, and like you had said, every new employee is a new salary that comes on board, but it also comes with new challenges, new hierarchies, new growing opportunities. So
Hmm.
it's amazing to look at how far we've come, but it's also like I can't believe that, it's already been, almost 10 years at the same time.
Yeah, it's crazy when you really think about it. And,
Mhm.
but you had to think back now. You've been doing this for so long. And what year did you start again?
2015, so we're approaching 10 years soon.
And that 10 years, a lot of stuff goes on. It's amazing, even like your first year to where it is today. What's that one thing that you could actually tell our listeners today about, wow, I learned this. I wish I had known this sooner?
Honestly, I think it's the idea of like fail often, fail fast. We were, I would say, the first, honestly, 4 years of our business. I looked at it like I was an employee of the business. We were I was a little bit conservative when it came to risk. We were doing certain things. We were at a price point that we knew we would gain clients at. And once we really started taking bigger risks and
Hmm.
looking at new partnerships and expanding, that's when our whole business changed.
Yeah.
Those first 4 years, I look back and I was like, if I would have just been bolder and not afraid to make a mistake and just learn from it and be a sponge, you know, it would have been a light year of difference, from where we are now to where we could have been if that was the mindset from the beginning. So you're always going to do something wrong, but I feel like you learn so much faster by doing the things that you're not supposed to do than
Yep.
by consistently doing like certain things just adequately. So you're not ruffling any feathers, but you're also not making a big growth. So yeah, the fail often, fail fast is probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's a common statement I would say with many
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, and then we look at it like, oh, okay, not do that next time. Got it. Where I think a
Mhm.
lot of people will be like, oh my god, I messed up. I'm a failure, and we just get back on the saddle. I'm like, okay, go this way
Mhm.
instead. You know, it's a
Sure.
really interesting mindset that you need to have. Now, you had joined obviously EO as well. You were at
Mhm.
EOA, you moved into EO, which is awesome. Why did you think you needed something like that in your life besides me pestering you?
You know what? I think the community is huge. It's can be very, very lonely. And, you sit with making tough decisions day in and day out that you can't necessarily talk through with people, not because you don't have a community around you, but they don't necessarily understand. So, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's a significant other, joining EO gave me that community where, you can really have very honest conversations and have that community around you that's going to support you and the decisions that you make. Not necessarily tell you what to do, but
Mhm.
just give you an honest experience share of the things that worked or didn't work for them, and then just be that safe space to have those conversations. And that's really a huge game changer because once you realize that you're not alone in it, and the decisions that you're making, and the challenges that you're having aren't that far off, regardless of what your industry is or your size is, it makes it a much more bearable journey to go through.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that people don't realize when you're a CEO. People are sometimes afraid to talk to you because of those 3
Mhm.
letters, and you have to be okay with it, get over it,
Mhm.
move on with it. It used to be like a punch in the gut when someone left me,
Yeah.
and left for another company, but I don't think it that way now. I'm like, "Hey, I don't wish you any harm, Will, and it's great, and now that you're part of my alumni network, and maybe you'll come
Yep.
back one day, and
Mhm.
that's totally okay, but it is hard when you first start off because you put so much time and
Sure.
effort into these people, so I get it. Um, what's happening down the road? So what's the plans for your company in the next 5 years?
Yep. So really what we have done very well over the past 2 or 3 years is we've added in this technology division of our company.
Right.
So we specialize in a CRM tool called HubSpot, and I know you're familiar with that. So
Mhm.
really what we're focused on is just really growing our relationship and our partnership with the HubSpot technology platform and really refining our processes so that way we can not only partner with customers that are on that, but then also scale that into some different CRMs as well.
Mhm.
So it's really refining and just stepping on the gas from there.
So, you're almost becoming like a subject matter expert in that
Hmm.
area. I don't think a lot of people. How do you do that though with entrepreneurs? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they know the word CRM. They all have that down.
Right.
They
Hmm.
don't know how many there are out there, and the fact
Hmm.
that, like, HubSpot, we use HubSpot, obviously, I'm a huge fan, and we get a discount because 'cause we're EO, which we love as
Yep.
well, but how do people, like, really differentiate? 'Cause I hear Salesforce out there as well, but I always found
Sure.
Salesforce to be a little bit more not as neat and tidy and organized as HubSpot. And,
Yep.
I want to go right into it. I want to see my data right away. I don't want to recreate the wheel. I don't want to create anything out of the ordinary. I want to
Hmm.
just like you already have it done. So how do you get out there to other entrepreneurs? Because a lot of them know they need it. They don't know how to get started.
Sure. I mean, a lot of it's just discovery. You're always going to have certain industry verticals or certain sizes that may be a better fit for different CRMs.
Yep.
We have a really big audience base within the automotive community. So
Mm,
there's specific platforms that are more common depending on the industry that you're in, but it really just comes down to your goals, the time and the resources that you have internally on your team, and ultimately, what your technology stack looks like because your CRM has to serve as the foundation for all of your data,
mm-hmm.
and then it's a platform where you can then build off of. So all of your other technology platforms are able to integrate
Mm-hmm.
with certain things because when it comes to data, if you don't have it in real time anymore, if you don't have it easily accessible, and if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have it cohesive across the board,
Yep.
that's a nightmare for your business.
Huge, and I don't think people
Mhm.
realize that. I also think they get these CRMs and they don't use the data. So they don't know how to use
Sure.
the data or to retrieve the data. And I think that data
Mhm.
is so important about whether or not, maybe, a networking event worked or didn't work and where's my data behind it? Or, this person we get all these leads and then we had this many new jobs out of it. I mean, how do you educate your customers in that world?
Honestly, it comes down to the data should drive all of your decisions. That's what we say, and that's where we really shifted our mentality into a growth agency.
Right.
When you have data, it takes the guesswork out of how to grow, right? It's no
Agreed.
longer just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. You see your numbers. Green is good, red is bad. How do you pivot? And the fact that you get all these numbers in real time as well allows your, organization to be nimble and shift as you start to see things because, if we even look at, coming back to the creative side of our business, you used to, do big media ads where you had billboards on the side of the road or you had TV spots. And once you paid for it and once you had the creative done, that was it. It was going to run for the longevity of
Yep.
what your contract was. Everything digital now is, you have it at your fingertips. So you're able to adjust and really optimize in real time. So that
Hmm.
whole idea of constantly growing based off of the data that you have, that's your cheat sheet right there. And a lot of people, once they see that they have the power to make decisions to improve that quickly,
Hmm.
it's then just, making sure that they know exactly where to go to continue to make those types of decisions. But at the end of the day, the data has to drive your decisions because that's where all the power is going to come from your growth.
Yeah, I can see that absolutely. And so moving that and getting at more people. And
Mm.
if you had to suggest to like an entrepreneur, the first 3 years of being a business, what would be like the top two recommendations you would tell them?
Ooh, top two recommendations. So I would say say yes to everything.
Hmm.
The amount of, especially in a creative space like we're in, you just have to go out, say yes to everything, make sure that you're able to build up your own case studies, and not be afraid to look at, how you can build these solutions together. And I refine that statement a little bit. Say yes to everything that's within your wheelhouse, right?
Hmm.
Don't go out and then just start, saying you can do things that your team absolutely can't. But in this creative space, there's always going to be a new challenge. Don't be afraid to explore it.
True.
Um, and then, really, from there, I would say the other thing is start to build up your team, and think about the leaders on your team, the people that you can trust as soon as possible. I know when I was growing the business, I was in the day to day all the time. And so it was really hard for me to step out and work on the business, rather than within the business, because I wasn't great at delegating and I wasn't great at sharing information at the start, because I felt like that was my burden. That was what I had to handle. So as soon as we started building out, our leadership team and making sure that that I was freed up enough to work on the business, that's really when the landscape of our business started to change.
And that's a key thing when you're freed up to basically work on it instead of in it.
Mhm.
And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck. And I have a lot of friends who are solo entrepreneurs and they'll tell me they want to do all that, but they can't let
Sure.
go. And that is key in order to basically having a very successful business. You have to let go and trust your people for
Yep.
sure. So what do you like to do? Do you like to have a book in hand or do you like Audible?
Oh, I am a page turner. I need to have the book in hand. That is my go-to. Plus, I'm like, I look at a computer screen all day, so I can't do anything Kindle related. And I'm a big music person, so Audible is like very much my safe space for music. But I am a page turner. I have everything right here.
Okay, so what are you reading? Share, share, share.
So I am reading right now Clone Yourself by Jeff Hilderman. Very good. Actually, kind of goes back to the topic of how are you able to delegate better? How are you able to establish really
Hmm.
secure processes so it allows your team to be successful?
Yep.
And this is one of those books where I have notes in the margins and, just a lot of things highlighted. So super practical, very
Yeah.
easy read. I started it 2 days ago and I should have it finished up today. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for
yeah.
you. So you're a big reader. I love that. Yeah, I find
Yes.
it hard. I get something and I put it down and I have Audible, I do this, I do Kindle, I'm a little bit of everything. I'm probably working like 5 books at one time and it's crazy, but I love learning. I'm a sponge.
Yep.
So I definitely hear you. I wonder it'd be a good speaker for EO actually. So that'd be pretty cool. I think,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that. Um, and then lastly, it's like how do people get a hold of you?
Sure. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. Like I said, a lot of we do is social media. So feel free to find me on LinkedIn at Shana Staggerwald or visit our website, Modern Driven Media. There's plenty of ways to get in contact with us there, but always looking forward to, speaking to other entrepreneurs. There's such a good community out there and you can never meet enough.
So if you then basically if people like the reason number 1 or 2 reason why people call you is why?
So they are looking to automate some of their business operations,
Yep,
starting with how they're engaging with, you know their community and their audience base.
yep.
So they're looking for a CRM. They're looking to do more based off of data in the CRM, or if they're looking to just generate new leads for their business in a scalable way online.
Yeah, because a lot of times I hear so many entrepreneurs, they know they need someone like you, but they don't know
Mhm.
when to call you.
Yep.
And I think it'd be interesting to just be like, "Okay, this is what I can do to help." And
Mhm.
maybe they have a question, what would you suggest? Like, maybe just have coffee with me to sit down and go over what you need?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Coffee's always great. Honestly, it's once you start to talk a little bit about your businesses and some of the challenges, that's really where some of the light bulbs start to go off for us.
Yeah.
And if it's, I think a lot of people that they're not sure what they need. One of the biggest, uh, things that we listen for is they don't really know where their data is, or they're like, we have so many platforms, we're not sure which has which. So they don't have that centralized. area to go to. And typically, when people start talking about the challenges of not knowing where or feeling like they don't have one key place, that's like a big red flag to us that, hey, this is a CRM issue that needs to start as your foundation before you start to look at how do you scale your business from new opportunity standpoint.
Got it. Understood. Which makes sense. But I,
Mhm.
there's a lot of times entrepreneurs just don't know when, and sometimes they feel foolish asking the question, because they
Sure.
think they're supposed to know everything. And we, God forbid, I know
Mhm.
I don't, and I'm still learning all the
Yep.
way through. So it's pretty
It's
interesting.
so true. That whole mindset of feeling like you need to know everything, I mean, that was probably another thing that, if I would have just said yes to asking or for allowing people to help earlier, rather than feeling
Mhm.
like I needed to know everything else myself, that would
Yes.
be another one of those, notes to add for any new entrepreneurs.
It's funny you say that because people say to me, like, what was the one thing you should have done sooner? I said, I wouldn't have waited to hire my first time full time person.
Mhm,
And I would have pushed a little bit more and had a little bit more faith in myself to start even earlier than at 39 years old. But
mhm.
you do what you got to do. But, it's
Sure.
funny you look back at these things and say, well, here I am. I still did it. So it's always interesting as our life journey comes upon us. So for sure. Um, Shana, thank you. Thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate you being on top three today. Shana Steigerwald from Modern Driven Media. And guys, she is a gem. Definitely, you should reach out to her when she says just have coffee. Have coffee. You're going to learn a lot. She knows a lot. She's sweet. She's kind. But you know what? She is a rock star out there. So we hope to see you guys soon out there. And like I said, you know, it's your journey. So make it the best. And we'll talk soon.